Razzie Jazzy here, and I'm back. Today we are starting a day one of a 10-day men's mental health awareness challenge because men are socialized to suppress their emotions so much to a fault that it leads to long-term mental health struggles. Things like anxiety disorders and depression and even higher suicide rates or PTSD, and dealing with these struggles, these traumas on their own can be very hurtful, and society has puts that pressure on them from all angles because women are told that men should be a rock, they should be emotionally stable, and they should be able to be a safe space for your emotions as a woman, but they don't even have that for themselves. Men don't have a safe space, someone they can come to for themselves, and oftentimes outside of relationships, a romantic relationship, that doesn't happen, and it's often weaponized when they do come forward. And mothers often tell their sons, stop crying, stop being a baby, when in reality, it's okay to cry. It's completely okay. It's completely normalized. Because you know what? Crying about it isn't going to solve the problem, but it helps you process the problem. So you know what? You can cry about it and be about it. But unfortunately, a lot of women put so much pressure on men to be the rock that it ends up being extremely harmful, extremely isolating, and it ends up causing way more problems down the line than if we could just acknowledge, hey, it's okay to cry, it's okay to have a hard time, and this is how we can move on from it. And instead they get stuck in this cycle, this toxic, vicious cycle, where the isolation becomes so much that it's causing men to feel like they have no other option than to do something very drastic, like potentially considering or even attempting to take their own lives. And that is absolutely devastating to know how many of my guy friends have felt like this their entire lives, not had that safe space. And if anything us women can do differently, it would be to create that safe space, even if men don't want to outwardly talk about the things that they're struggling with because they feel weak, because they feel vulnerable, even if that vulnerability is attractive to emotionally stable women. That is the type of guy that we want to talk to. We want to have friends. We want to be able to say, hey, how are you doing today? And really ask that question and want to hear the answer, even if it's not one that's a positive one. Yeah, I want you to say, I'm not doing too good today. My mental health is, I'm not here. I'm not present, or I'm really struggling with this. Everything sucks right now. And you know what? It's okay. It's absolutely okay for them to say, let's talk about it. Yeah, it sucks. Maybe we can't change it right now, but I can be a sounding board. I can be there for them, even if it's not going to be something that's ever fixed. Just knowing that they're not alone. They don't have to handle it all on their own. They don't have to fight that war in their head by themselves, or feel that way and feel so isolated, because sometimes feeling isolated can be just the most devastating aspect. Even if you're not alone, just feeling isolated among other people, because with women holding up men to that standard, men also hold other men to that toxic, terrible society standard where men can't be vulnerable with other men a lot of times, and to have that vulnerability is oftentimes weaponized among men as well. It can become competitive, like, oh, it's like sharing if you've ever heard like veterans swapping war stories, or like, I lost my leg, well, I lost my leg, my arm, it becomes a battle again once with each other, rather than being able to be like, yeah, that freaking sucks, like that should never happen, I'm sorry you had to go through that, I went through it too, and that it's not right. Unfortunately, a lot of men don't have that also among other men, so there's pressure from all across the spectrum to be somebody that it's not possible to be. No man is an island. And emotional regulation, how can you learn to regulate your emotions if you never have a space that feels safe enough to do so? It's going to be a lot harder. So if anything, if any of you men out there need to hear this today, it is okay to talk about the way that you feel. And if you're not talking to someone that is safe, then I'm sorry that you're having to deal with that, because you're worthy of having a safe space. Not just being a safe space, but you're worthy of having a safe space without it being held over your head. Just having someone to understand you, it's okay to need that. It's good to have that. And if you don't have that, feel free to message. If I know I'm a stranger, but I know you probably won't want your feelings out in the comments and vulnerabilities out in the comments, but there is such a huge part of safety and growth and healing when you can be vulnerable. There's a huge strength in being vulnerable. It takes a lot of strength to be vulnerable, despite the fact of how someone else might judge you. Just know that it's okay to be you, to have feelings, to be a human being, and to struggle, because even though society says that men aren't allowed to have those things, be that way, it is okay. It is absolutely okay, because we can cry about it, and we can be about it, and we can sit there, and I can sit there with heavy feelings, and I'm not afraid of your feelings. I'm totally okay with listening and just to understand. If no one else in the world will understand, just know that it's okay. It's totally okay. You're worthy, no matter how you feel, no matter how you respond. You're worthy. Everyone starts somewhere, and if you feel like this is the type of content that you can relate to or you feel more understood, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe, because there is going to be a lot more to come. So, you guys have a good day, and I will continue to hope the best and keep saying the same things over and over and over until it's normalized enough that men don't have to feel so alone and fight the war in their head on their own. So I hope you have a good day and stay blessed.